Hi there, today we're going to make this Christmas lights garland. So let's get started. First you need a 22 pin knitting machine, tape, Easter eggs, crochet hook, needles, and some worsted weight yarn. The first thing you want to do is you're going to cast on a provisional cast on in the color of your bulb. So go around that first needle and go back and forth, weaving in and out between your needles. Go all the way around. When you get back to that first needle, go ahead and pop it back in the carriage. And now we're going to knit 12 to 14 rows depending on the size of your Easter egg. So the 22 pin machine can be a little challenging for the first few rows, but now we've got some good speed going. Then we're going to go ahead and cast off. So thread your needle just like you would normally take it off if you're making a beanie or anything else. All right, so we're gonna crank around just a little bit and then we're gonna pull off our yarn going one by one. Okay, so take your time doing this. We don't have very many rows, so it's a little easier to drop stitches right here, so just take your time. Okay, all right. So go all the way around. Okay, so now we're towards the end. We're going to keep going. We're going to cast off. I always seem to drop stitches here, so I have to be careful. I've got it sped up a little bit. All right, so now that our work is off the loom, what we're going to do is we're going to start to pull those ends shut. Okay, so make sure that you kind of, work out any kind of lumps, bumps, right? You want to keep it real smooth. I'm going to start to pull, the ends closed. Right, just like this, organize my strands, okay? And now I've got my Easter eggs. So I got these from the Dollar Tree, so they're relatively small. They're about 1.5 inches to 2 inches tall, so not very big, but we don't want them to pop open, right? So here's a different color, right? We don't want them to pop open, so we're gonna use some tape, right? And you can use hot glue. I use tape. Tape seems to hold them in place fairly well. But if you put pressure on them and they pop, and then you've got kind of a lumpy garland and you don't want that to happen. So just put enough tape on there to keep it secure. You can also add a little bit inside if you want it to be weighted down, a couple of poly pellets, a couple of, pellets of rice or something like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull each end closed. I'm going to thread my needle here, just like this. And I'm going to pull the one end kind of closed. All right, so then I'm going to take my needle just like that, pull it close so it's nice and neat. Okay, now this part right here, you take a little bit of extra care because you're going over that egg. You want it to be stretched nicely, but you don't want it to be too tight, right? So go ahead and pull that through. What I do is I thread my yarn back all the way up to the top, just like that. And then I smooth out everything so it's as even as possible. Okay, so take a few extra moments here. It really does, it makes it look a little bit nicer. So then I'm gonna go ahead and secure my top piece just like this. All right, so again, pull it taut and kind of adjust it so that it's even, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little surgeon's knot to the top once I am satisfied with the shape of my yarn against my egg. Okay, so again, not too tight, but all right, so I've got my surgeon's knot here. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and trim the top, just like that. Okay, all right, massage out again, kind of any last little bumps, and go ahead and put it aside. So now we're gonna make the fuse. So go ahead and cast on, same provisional cast on like normal. There you go. And now here we're only going to knit 5 rows. Okay, so it's going to go relatively quick. Okay, cast off just like you normally would. Again, it's kind of easy to drop stitches here because there are so few rows. So just take a little bit of extra time to make sure you don't drop any stitches. I'm going to go lefty here. Watch me go. All right, so I'm just about done. I'm going to go around my thread caught. There we go. All right, now this part right here is kind of a mess, and I struggle with this because it's only 5 rows and it gets kind of squirrely. So what I do is I kind of pull it like taut like this, but I'll kind of wrap it around my hand just a little bit and then start to pull each end. Now the work is curly just in general, so you're going to have to massage it a little bit just to kind of get it to be even. You know, take your time here, because the first few times I did this, especially when you're working with something that's so few rows, I actually kind of ended up with a couple of knots and it was a little frustrating. So just take your time here and smooth it out as you go. Okay, so again, because this piece is so small and our work tends to want to curl in on itself as it is, it's actually going to kind of help. So you can kind of see here's a little lumpy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it right on its side and kind of roll it into itself just like that. See? So it's a real little nugget just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and thread one of the needle or one of the ends, right, with the yarn needle. It doesn't matter which end. And then I'm going to kind of hold it shut, and then I'm going to stitch it back and forth right along the side. You can do a mattress stitch, but this is black yarn, right? And so you can't really see it too much anyway. So it's not such a big deal. Okay, looks pretty even anyway. And so keep sewing until you get to the other end, probably about 5-6 stitches or so. Okay, I'm going to pull it right here towards the center just a little bit to try to keep it as even as possible. And then I'm going to take these two ends and I'm going to secure them with the surgeon's knot, just like I did for the top of my egg. Okay, so just like this. All right, and now I'm going to trim that little end right there. You can weave in the ends with your needle if you want to, but we're going to glue it right now, so it's going to sit just on top like that, so you're not going to see the ends anyway. If you wanted to sew it, you absolutely could. It's up to you. So now I'm going to make the, I guess you could say the rest of the garland, right? So, or the, I don't know, what do you call this stuff? I don't know, right? The electrical cord, right? If this was real. So I'm using an E-hook here, and you want to get this particular cording as small as possible. So I'm going to use kind of a tight tension, and I am going to single crochet 250 rows. So now that I've got my ends, I've got my 250 rows. Oh my God, 250 stitches. My word, 250 chains. All right, so then I'm going to add some hot glue right to the end of my fuse, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to add right there to the top of my bulb, just like that. So hold it a little bit till it's secure. All right, so now that I've got that, I'm going to make that in a few different colors, right? So as many or as a few as you'd like. So now I'm going to take one end, right, of this cording, and I'm going to use a straight needle here. Okay, so this is a yarn darner. I'm going to, right, thread that just like that. Okay, now again, you want it right to be as even as possible. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to find the center, kind of like the mid-range right there, and you're going to pull, right, put your needle through there and you're going to pull it. Now, this might be a little bit challenging. If you go through a stitch, it might be a problem. So just kind of, pull, taut, but, just enough pressure to get it to come through. If you split the yarn, that's usually okay. You can just kind of tuck it back in as you go. All right, so keep threading your bulbs like this. Okay, and you'll need to kind of, pull a little bit, some pressure. All right, keep going. All right. Now, if you have a few that are giving you some grief, you can actually use a crochet hook instead, right? So if you're not enjoying the needle, so what you can do is you can take that small crochet hook and kind of weave it through or kind of push it through just like that till it comes up the other end. See that? And then what we'll do is you can take that yarn, wrap it around the hook, and then use the crochet hook to pull it through. This works as well. Okay, so just very gently. Again, it's not uncommon to split the yarn. If that happens, you can just tuck it back in on itself, right? And go ahead and pull it through. And then you want to finish, right, adding all of your bulbs to your strand to make that garland. All right. So I'm going to use a crochet hook here. I'm going to pull it right through. There it goes. All right. Right, so you can see here, this is our garland. So I added several different colors, try to alternate the colors, right? So I hope you enjoy this tutorial, right? You can make them in any colors, make them in sparkly colors, make the fuse different colors, great green or gray, right? Whatever you'd like. So as short as you'd like, as long as you like. All right. Happy holidays.